it is also like personal interest, right? At the end. So the reason I left web development because it was too technical. And when I got into data science, it was too business related. I was working with like business people, understanding data, just creating some basic models, and working on the dashboard side. I thought I'm missing out the technological touch because I'm an engineer at the end.
What's up, data folks? Welcome to another episode of Data Creators Club podcast, where we interview folks from Data Creators Club, which is a website where you can find a lot of data content creators, no matter their channel, YouTube, Medium, LinkedIn. And we have a YouTube expert with us, I think. Darshil, which has been putting a lot of content recently around data engineering on YouTube. I'm super happy to have him here. Welcome, Darshil.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I mean, your website is really cool. I never thought of that something that could exist in the market. So when I saw your website, like you could find data engineering, data science creators. That's something amazing. So first of all, thank you for that, creating it. Because when I was writing some of my posts, I was finding some creators I forgot, and I went to your website, searched for that, and just added my post. So yeah, shout out to that. And yeah, thank you for inviting me. Yes.
This is exactly why I built that. I've seen multiple times on LinkedIn people say, and I'm like, we need a maintainable list somewhere. So could you tell us about how you got into data and what's your journey so far?
So I started like normally after my after 10th, I went to college, engineering college, where I did my bachelor's in computer science. So this is where I learned about all the technological stuff. But the actual journey into tech started with the web development. So I didn't start with the data. I started with the LAMP stack, such as PHP, MySQL, HTML, CSS. So I worked in a web development for like 2 to 3 years, and I wanted to explore something new. So I saw this hype around data science. Everyone was getting into data science. Like Harvard Business Review was like sexiest job of 21st century, and I was like, yes, I want to become a data scientist. So I did bunch of courses into that. So everything was from online. I never went to any university for that. I just learned everything by myself. In that journey, I got few internship also. So I worked on some natural language processing and some of the data science related projects. And that's how the initial journey started into the data world. At my final year, I was again looking for some internship and job opportunities because I was graduating and I did not have any job in my hand. So I was looking into that, and I got this one opportunity at mid-sized startup firm in Mumbai only, where they wanted some data engineer. First project I got was on like real-time streaming. I was very lucky at that particular time. So I started working on AWS services. So I learned about AWS cloud first time. This is how the actual journey got started into data engineering. And after that, I did like a lot of migration projects. Like migration projects are like very common in like data industry at this particular moment, or in that particular moment also. Like a lot of companies have their data onto one source, and they find that okay, this new data warehouse can reduce our cost and improve our performance. So they want to migrate to that. So most of the time, I also worked on like from this database to Redshift migration or BigQuery migration. So a lot of stuff for that, and other projects were like related to dashboard building, infrastructure creation.
Cool, interesting. So you said like you were mostly first interested by data science, because it was because data engineer was not really popular at that moment. But why did you stay in data engineer then?
It is also like personal interest, right? At the end. So the reason I left web development because it was too technical. And when I got into data science, it was too business related. So I was not working on the new cool technologies. I was working with like business people, understanding data, just creating some basic models, and working on the dashboard side. And I thought I'm missing out the technological touch because I'm an engineer at the end. Like I like working on the new technologies and stuff like that. So data engineering was something where I get to work on technology, also the cool technologies, not like the old technologies. Like new technology comes into the market, you get to see how data is moving, how you transform data, how it affects like the technical side, also the business side. So it's like the like just like Andre says, right? We are the pipeline builder, like the plumber of data science. So I kind of liked it because I was working with the business people, but I was also learning technology every day. So new technology comes, new tools and concept also you get to learn. You get to work on like large data set. Like people just think about, processing this data. Like you see Google Maps, and
Yeah.
as an end user, you see it's like, okay, the map is moving. But when you go behind it, when you see like those event data are coming and they are getting processed into some kind of Kafka stream, and you get to work on that. That's what I found like, oh, okay, this is very interesting. And I also understood the bigger picture behind it because as I had experience in application development and also data science, I was able to frame the entire thing that how these technologies comes together, these individual tools connect together to make the entire system. So this is where like the reason I was like, okay, data engineering is something I want to stay right now. Maybe in the future I will move to architect or solution architect or something. Not sure right now, but yeah, data engineering is fun at that particular time. Yeah,
And the hype took over, right?
yeah, exactly.
so,
And that
so
is yeah. So content creation journey started because of that. I just started it. I thought like I'll be the seller of data engineering. I will tell people what data engineering is. So this is how initially I had the goal in my mind. Because when you search on YouTube, something should come up. So this is how I started. But yeah, so the hype now is like way too
yeah.
above. Yeah.
It's very interesting. I have a bit the same background. I was working. I have a background in electronics engineer. I was working in telecom, and then I moved out. I wanted to go into data. I end up more as a data analyst. We're doing a lot of SQL, and I had exactly the
Yeah.
same thing that you were mentioning. I felt like, okay, it's interesting, but I like the engineering part. Like I was missing some part of it, and yeah, data engineer. It's a really good point that you mentioned. It's a good compromise, actually. You were mentioning that you've been learning basically a lot by yourself. Like, what are the biggest challenge when you're self-taught learn? Like when you get resource from online resource, basically.
So like our biggest challenge is like finding the good resources. That is the first one because courses, like a lot of courses available in the market, but all of the courses will start with the basic also. So it is very difficult to find like the really good resources that will actually give you something at the end. Because let's say if you want to learn Python, everyone will teach you the basics of Python and all of the like major packages like NumPy, Pandas, and stuff like that. But there are very few courses you will find. You might even not find the courses that will teach you how to use Python in real world, like how to do the transformation and stuff like that onto actual projects. So that was one of the missing part I had in the learning curve. So courses don't give you that. So that is the reason you have to do the projects, like doing the hands-on projects. That is how I actually learned a lot of things in my life. So I used to go on Kaggle.com or just search online, find some various projects in data science domain or data engineering, and try to do hands-on practice on that. So this is a general challenge you face when you start because you don't get the projects. And the second and one of the like biggest challenge is get stuck in this course or certification loop. So if I ever show you my Coursera like account, you will see that I've done more than like 30 to 40 certification. What I used to do, I used to just spend time on doing courses thinking that it will help me somewhere. And it did help me. I'm not saying that it didn't, but I never took action in real world to apply those knowledge. It's like the one of the biggest mistake I've done. And this is what everyone does, right? People just want to do the easy part. Doing courses is like very easy to do. You just have to sit in front of your screen and watch videos and you feel good because you think you made the progress,
Mm-hmm.
but you never applied that thing into like real world. So, and lastly is the focusing on the end goal. So I've like made a post today, like everyone want that one course that will teach them everything about data engineering. So it doesn't exist. So whenever you start learning, let's say Python, you are focusing on like what will I do after I learn Python and become expert in it? You are not focusing on learning Python. So instead of focusing on the end goal or just thinking about after Python I will learn SQL and everything else, just focus on your current learning and try to be as efficient as you can. So These are like some of the challenges. These are like mental roadblocks, you can say. So you face, but you eventually overcome when you get internship or you work on projects. You get hands-on practice. You face errors, challenges, and that's how you improve. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can only agree. I just like released a video about that topic, right? I think we are definitely in line. That I think we should be more project focused. I really like
Yeah.
also the fact that you mentioned there is no course to be a data engineer because it's so right. So
Exactly.
I think you need to focus on specific area. Like you were mentioning, you started in streaming, right? That's like really specific
Yeah.
case and a different type of tooling around. Is there like you think a problem with content curation today?
So right now it is improved. Okay. So when we started, like if you talk about like 5 years back, this field was very new. So even like industry was trying to understand what does a data scientist actually do. So they didn't even know like what are the skills needed. They just knew that these are the tools that can be used to solve the problem, but they didn't know the exact usage of those in real world. So currently there are a lot of contents. I mean, the in data engineering world only, there are so many content creators from so many different areas. Like even from like there are people who create content on Azure. There are people who content just on Google Cloud and AWS. So if you are interested, let's say if you apply for a job or if you get a job in some sector, you can follow those content creators and they you can just ask them like if you get a job in AWS company where the company is using AWS cloud, then you can follow that path and get started. So that way the things are becoming much easier. Also due to the content creation, a lot of people share their daily knowledge. So I share my views, you share your views. So that way I guess the things are getting much easier, but still a lot of people are finding it difficult even after having like hundreds of roadmaps. I'm not sure like why people are still finding it difficult to get started. Maybe because they are still focusing on again getting stuck into the learning pattern rather than actually doing it in the real world, or it's just because they don't really know the data engineering. They are just running behind the hype. They
Yeah.
just want to get that data engineering title. That's what I was doing like few years back. I didn't know what data science was. I was just running behind the title. So this is something happening in the industry, but eventually due to content creation and people guiding, it will be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned like I had actually someone on the podcast, Daniel Beach, who has a blog that started 5 years back, which was pretty early in terms of blog, right? Medium was not a thing, and it's exactly as you mentioned. There was really little knowledge, right? And I feel like so the industry was really forgiving, as you mentioned. It's like we know we have some tools, we have a dupe,
Yeah.
but there is no a clear strategy, clear role name. So we had to think like and find like ourselves how to do it on the job. And maybe the downside today is that we have too much information.
Much. Yeah. Exactly.
And so that's probably, as you mentioned, there is a lot of data engineering roadmaps. And exactly also as you mentioned, content creators have different view on different things. It doesn't make one bad or good, right? It's just a different point of view. But then as a starter, you're like, okay, I just want to get
Exactly.
started, right? Where do I start?
So
So,
yeah, I mean, you always try to find the easiest roadmap, and there is no easy. Like the fundamental skills are same for every roadmap. You compare any roadmap, you will get the same fundamentals.
yeah.
Then it changes. Some people say learn Azure, some people say learn AWS. So people get confused, like, oh, which one is better? Which will give me a good job and stuff like that. So this is where the confusion begins. Yeah.
Cool. You're from India. Do you see any difference in the data market in general? So market-wise, technical skills-wise, yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
In general in India, right, most of the companies prefer cheaper tools or the free tools. That is one I've seen. So I'd rather save, like, put more resources behind one technology and get the work done rather than paying for the expensive tools if you're a startup or something. So I'd rather use Hadoop or open source framework than going to any paid application that will cost me a lot of money. So that is one thing I've seen common across major companies I've worked in or just interacted with them. So that's true. People want to save money. People want to, find a ways where they can get the highest value, but little spending
Mhm.
uh, from their side. So that is one thing. Second is, I guess you already mentioned this point of the Azure cloud. I totally agree with that too. People are more biased toward Azure because again it provides entire ecosystem together. The Microsoft, the PCs, right, is dominated in India. So everyone is used to using PC and all the calendars and everything. So if you get the entire suite, the Teams, the Azure cloud, all of the things together, people are more likely to pay for that and use that rather than going for AWS, because that is completely different playground, or Google, that is completely different playground from them. So these are like some of the like basic things that is different in India. But I work on like as a freelancer, I work with like a lot of US clients, and also currently working with like Europe company. So their way of doing is completely different. They focus on more of a optimization type. They want to make sure that they use their resources efficiently.
Mhm.
So if something takes me like 2 days to do it, they'll be okay. But in India, if something takes like 2 days, they will try to find that, can you do it in one day? Can you do it in like few hours? So this is like how the mentality changes. The flexibility of working hours and everything is different over here. So in short amount of time, you want to get extract high value in India, but in like the outer countries like abroad, you get flexible timings. You work on your own time, but produce the good results.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, these are like the small changes, but
Co-
it also changes companies to companies. So yeah,
Yeah, I guess like so the first one that you mentioned, like build or buy, right? Build yourself or buy, is a classic case study. But yeah, it's true that it can be different from culture. Um, and yeah, for Azure, it makes sense, right? Like if you have a dominance on all the laptop and all the contracts, existing contracts in the company, like adding the cloud on top of that, like it's just an appendix to the contract that
yeah.
that's it. You're on
We
the
just
cloud.
it's just upsell. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean you're already using the entire Microsoft suite, so why don't you use
yeah.
Azure? Like just
hmm
add it. Yes, something
And
like
I
that.
guess we were talking about data migration project, right? Which can be really painful and expensive. And in that case, Microsoft has always, I mean, tool set at least more compatibility between what's
Yeah.
existing to the cloud. Do you see any impact with the remote work exploding for you, for India? Because you were mentioning, okay, as a freelance, you work for Europe company, for a US company. I know that when I was in Belgium, we were also working with Indian folk. But do you see those opportunity more exploding or not? Not really.
So when the COVID pandemic hit, there was like the huge requirement because everyone was working remotely. So at that time the demand was high. Currently there are still demand, but due to like people are seeing recession and stuff like that, layoffs are happening everywhere. It's high and low. It's like the depends on the talent. So if you're good enough, you will definitely get the job. But if you're just a fresher or just getting started, it is difficult to get a remote job because the reason they are hiring you is because they want to first save cost and they want a good talent. The US economy, or like if you compare with the India,
Yeah.
it's India is very like low in terms of that. So uh, you get to spend very less and you get a very good talent in that amount. So at that time, the pandemic time, the opportunities, I used to get like 1 to 2 jobs every day on LinkedIn, asking me for remote work or contract basis or just short term projects. Remote jobs are there, but if even just you need to be good in this particular domain. Yeah.
You were mentioning also running behind the hype. Uh, there is a lot of people now. So before it was data science, but now it's data engineer, right? And they say, okay, I want like this job is hype, everybody wants it. Do you think it's a good or a bad thing? Like afterthoughts, based on your experience?
So, I mean, it's both, I guess. So, it's a good thing because a lot of people come into this industry. As a content creator, when I started, that a lot of people get to know about this particular field. So, you can build a good community and grow also. So when I started, like there were very few people who knew about data engineering. Now there are a lot of people who know about data engineering. This is like the software engineering again, the development side. People want to become a software developer because of like good pay, want to work in FANG. So a lot of people run behind this hype. The same is happening for the data engineering at some point. It's a good thing in some way because a lot of people taking interest. It's a bad thing in some other way because most of the people don't even know what data engineering is. So they are just running behind the hype, but when they actually get into the job, and if they don't like it, so it's a burnout for them, because at the end they're not going to enjoy the work. They're just doing it for the sake of doing it because they ran behind the hype. In terms of salary also, right now, like there are less people, so
Yeah,
more demand, so less people, that increases the salary. But as if you have like a lot of people coming into this, so you will have like demand and supply ratio equally at some point. So the salary will also will come to like on average. So there are like a lot of different factors. At the end, it's a good thing overall if you consider, because you will get to see a lot of different new talents coming into this, some new tools people develop into the market, and something new will definitely come because you see new frameworks are coming and everything. So that way,
I believe like now, like for us, when we have a certain experience, then the question is like not following the hype, is to guess what's the next wave. Can you share a bit like what's the next wave for you in data in general? What's the hottest topic do you think are coming?
so most of the time I just follow, I try to read about the new stuffs going in, like some news, or like Benjamin, the Seattle data guy, he shares sort of insights from the industry, right? So I follow him if I want to understand where the wave is going, or just read stuff on Medium. So that way, like the data warehouse market currently, uh, it is currently in like the changing, because the ETL process or data processing process kind of going towards like the product base. So instead of writing the Python script and everything, you want to just have one tool
Yeah,
that will do everything for you. You just connect it with maybe relational databases that will fetch data automatically for you. You do your transformation there and there only, and build your data warehouse, or maybe some kind of tooling system that will give you insights there and there, that is easy for business people to understand, but also analysts who is working on there. So even if the new tools come, there will be the market for the older technologies. So it's not going like completely, going off. It is going to stay, but new tools will create more jobs in the market for
yeah.
that particular tool, like the DBT in this current scenario. Like,
And I think anyway, with all the demands and the different use cases that we have now, we'll need more of them. So you've been crushing it on YouTube. I'm really jealous because we start. I mean, you start a bit before me, I think. But like you get like an exponential growth that requires a lot of effort, right? I could see like at your pace, I'm trying to survive like with a couple of video a month, like one video or two video a month, but you putting more effort than that. What does
yeah.
it bring to you, and what gets you motivated to keep pushing the content?
So first of all, I mean, YouTube, I mean, no need to get just, because it's a difficult journey. I mean, if you, it looks easy, it might look easy for a lot of people from the outside, that, oh, just create a video and it just goes viral. But a lot of things goes behind it, because you need to make sure the video is good, the editing is good, so that people stay on the platform, attention stays, so that it gets recommended to more and more people and stuff like that. So you need to work on thumbnail, title, and a lot of things goes behind it. So it's a hard thing. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's easy thing initially. I mean, creating a video every week, it is difficult. The motivation behind it is just like the routine I have built now. Every morning I just think about some new ideas. If I ideas are just pop-ups in my brain, so I think about some new ideas, I write it down, and I think, okay, this is the topic I want to make my next video on. So I will write some kind of script, I will record the video and just publish it after reading. So this is generally how it started. 25,000 in, it's like roughly around 1.5 years. It is okay number right now. I thought it could have been more, because the population of India is really big. I mean, it's like the billions of people. So I expected around like at least 100K. But the data engineering is a domain that a lot of people don't know at this moment. And also I create content in like English. So in India, like the native language is Hindi. So if I start creating content on that, I think I will get more views and subscribers.
Don't,
But
don't. I'll be disappointed.
but
I'm sorry.
yeah, but I won't be able to. Yeah, exactly. So I won't be able to target the US audience and everything. And at the end, like you're gonna do everything in like the when you work on technology, it's in English. So I want to keep everything on that scale only. So yes, I mean, content creation. What brings it to me is just a curiosity from the side. Apart from the data engineering, your side hobbies, you can say that you explore, you understand these systems, algorithms. This is what we do behind the scene, but also when you do it this as a consumer also or as a producer, you get to learn a lot of things. So
Yeah.
it's just like the side hobby I wanted to like explore. Yeah.
Cool. No, but it's amazing, and I mean, the data community in general. Thank you for that. You've been putting a lot of good content over there. Closing on the show because we are already extending you. It was amazing. Please don't forget to check out Darshil's YouTube channel. He needs the 100K. You heard him. He needs the button. So help. Let's help him to get it over there. And yeah, thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me, Mehdi.